and welcome to the Social Recruiting Show. I'm Katrina Collier. I'm a social recruiting trainer and speaker. I'm, of course, joined by my gorgeous co-host, Audra Knight, who is an employer branding genius. Not cast wearing, maybe cast wearing. We're not allowed to talk about that, are we? Blab cat owning, awesome person all round. And we have, finally, Will Staney, from founder of Proactive Talent, who's joined with no glitches and no cusp millennial issues. Thank you so much for being patient and continuing to try to get on.
Got it. You know, it's not easy. All this magic that goes into Facebook Live and everything, it's a delicate piece of technology. But we got it right at the cusp, and we're here.
Right, we got
Thanks
there. We got there. We're only a couple of minutes late, and thankfully this lot are used to us being late.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Will, so we know all the cool work that you've been doing over the years for sure, but could you, just for any audience members that might not, can you tell them kind of how you maybe got into recruiting or started, and then what you're doing at Proactive?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about the very thing today that started my career anyways. So I started back in 2009 at a little company called VMware. And I had been teaching digital marketing and social and sort of the power of social during its rise to real estate agents in Austin. I was doing workshops all over town. They were wanting to learn how to attract the first time home buyer, the new generation. And one of my clients, when in the mortgage industry, was a recruiter, and they were nearby, and I would go in there and show them some stuff, and they're like, "This is amazing! Like, you need to teach this to recruiters, for finding people." And I was like, "Okay." And so I talked to folks at VMware, and I had interviewed for a entry-level sourcer role, hourly contract, and I went into the job interview, and I pitched a completely different job. I was like, "Hey, sourcing sounds really cool. Never done it before, but hey, I've been doing this thing with social media for a while, and it's pretty cool." And we kind of just were brainstorming, and they were like, "Yeah, okay, we'll have you do that instead." So I kept the same terrible hourly rate, but did a different job. And then, a year later, I'm on the cover of Silicon Valley Business Journal. VMware hires 30% of the hundreds from social media. Yeah. And
I didn't know you did the VMware. I quite often use that page as an example because they've still got the job feed on there.
They're one of the best employer brands and examples of companies who have truly embraced it and evolved with it as capabilities have gotten better and better. And Price Peacock, who I hired right out of college on my team at VMware, is still there running that stuff. Yeah. So it's an amazing case study of a company that embraced it. They let me it was like a kid in a candy store. They were just like, "You want to try cool new stuff that's going to attract talent? Awesome, go ahead."
And you would not expect that in a company like VMware, right? They're B2B, aren't they, as a tech company?
Yeah, they're B2B, and so they didn't know how this played into the fact, because I was going on at first, I was pissing some people off. I remember sitting down with my manager about 9 months to a year into it, and he goes, "Will, you're a polarizing individual. Half this stuff that you're doing with
nothing much has changed then, hey?"
At all, not at all. They're like half the people are really scared about what you're doing, and half the people really love what you're doing. Because I was posting and this was all new stuff back then, right? I was posting pictures at the beer bash because every Friday we had a keg and everyone had beer, and it was a real thing that happened, right? And and I would start posting that, and people in HR were like,
"Oh my God, you can't show that we're actually human and that we have a life.
You can't do that." And I was telling real stories. And before Periscope and all that existed, we were doing embedded live streams like this on the Facebook page using livetree.com. We were doing video job descriptions before anybody else. They really let me run with it, because at the same time I was testing and doing new things, I was measuring all the way through how we got applications from it, how we got hires. I was very involved with Jobs to Web at the time and using that to track everything that we did. Did he say divisive or polarizing? He said polarizing.
I'm more concerned about what Stephen O'Donnell's talking about here. Was Will ever in a band called Maroon 5?
I think you've gotten that before, haven't you?
Like every day of my life.
The worst thing is I don't know what band is Maroon 5. Is that really bad? I probably do, but I don't.
I bet you know their songs.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Bill, was it hard to track the source of hire back then? Because you
Oh my God. It was
It's
hard. It's still super hard, but it was hard, but Jobs to Web was ahead of its time at the time, right? This is 2009, 2010. And it was manual as far as building the machine, like making sure everything was hard coded into itself. I had to get a tracking link. Like we would do a blog or a video and we create manual tracking links that led to jobs relating to that video. And then we had to literally follow that through and then get the data from the ATS, match it up with our marketing data from the front end. And we were able to really show ROI of things that we didn't do before. Like we ended up saving the company hundreds of thousands of dollars on job board spend because now we were actually able to measure that.
Yeah.
And they just thought I was a wizard, but I was really just applying, digital marketing. So I went to school for mass comm advertising. I was a digital marketing consultant, and I was just applying those principles to a new industry. But to them, it was like,
I mean, like now that we're in 2017 and I still get this, like, how did you get HR on side? How did you get them to see it's fine?
Yeah.
Like seriously, 9 years later and we're still having the same freaking
We're still having,
right? I mean, it's a joke.
That's why the biggest piece of advice that I give people who are starting to build a program like this, employer branding and social recruiting at their organization, is you have to be a good salesperson internally. And so the way I was able to really keep pushing the limits and getting budget and building a team, and I got videographers on my team. I mean, VMware didn't actually know how to even classify the people for like these job roles didn't exist in HR. So it took me months to even get like HR to create new job codes to hire a content producer within HR, right? So what I tell people is you have to be a salesperson. I was a sales guy for 10 years before this role. And it really came into play because what I did was I'd test something, I'd do a pilot, I'd measure it all. And then my boss, was just so amazing at saying, hey, going up to the head of HR and saying, hey, chief people officer, what this guy on my team is doing is like really affecting what we're doing. And it's amazing. And he said, honestly, I don't even know how to turn it off. But we should listen to what he's doing. And so like I had meetings with C-suite, and with the head of HR, and I was just this like entry-level contractor going, hey,
I love that. We don't know how to turn it off. Thank God you didn't do it wrong.
Oh, trust me, there was a lot of things I did wrong.
Yeah, but imagine you done it really wrong and they couldn't turn it off.
Oh yeah.
That's Staney as shit.
But this was the heyday, right? Like when we could create a Twitter account or a Facebook account, and then I hooked into like the VMware's software community, and I was coordinating with the corporate social team who really got what I was doing, and they're like, this is cool. And they sort of like would repost my content, and then they would tell the developer community like, hey, if you get a follow from VMware Careers, like they're cool. Don't worry about it. Like they're not going to try to sling jobs at you. They really just want to be a part of this community. And that was what made it super successful. I would come on to their cloud podcasts and talk about like, they would talk about the technology. I would come on and talk about the people behind the technology. And developers loved it. And VMware attracted a lot of great developers. I even helped hire people like from Twitter in this heyday, right? Because I'd be watching the Twitter feed and someone would say at so-and-so is on the market. And I go, what? On the market? And check them out. And engage them, and the next day I'd have them in the interview process.
So what you basically did is use the social media as social and had a conversation, which I think is the problem. That recruiters who had online job boards who thought that's what social media is, and they still think that's what social media is, and that's why it is now gone quite to shit in a lot of respects.
Yeah, and it's also improved.
that constant noise that you just can't get heard over.
Yeah, and it's also improved. Like I was in a sweet spot at the right time, right as things were building up, and I was doing it, I think, in an authentic, real way. It wasn't really markety. I really considered myself like an internal reporter of the employee's experience.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like get employees. I would host live streams where we'd have an HR, a recruiter or a hiring manager talking about, a specific team and what they're doing, and have real candidates asking questions live. We just wanted people to really know what it was like, because they really have an amazing culture, and especially in its heyday.
How did you not make that boring? Just thinking of some of the job ones I've seen that are like, oh,
well,
you know what I mean? They're like awful. Hi,
oh yeah,
I'm Will. This is the job. You're like dying of death inside.
Well, I was lucky, right? Because VMware was a very fast-growing Silicon Valley tech company, and they were always doing something fun or interesting at their campuses. And so I would go out to Palo Alto, and they have these, amazing Halloween bashes with zip lining and just crazy stuff, right? And there was always great content and employee experience stuff to talk about. And I was based out of the big sales and HR office here in Austin, and it was always like somebody's birthday, so we all got cupcakes, or there was always something going on to talk about or to show and to highlight.
Did you consider yourself in employment branding at that time, or was that not even a term, really?
No, not a term.
It's more like employee branding.
Yeah, but when did that actually become a term?
It was interesting. It was, I think, until the next company or company after that it really became sort of, well, I even missed ever having that in a job title. So the job I created at VMware was I called it the Web Talent Acquisition Web Strategy Manager.
Nice.
Because that's all I could think about it is like I'm doing.
She's super rebellious with the word strategy in there. It makes no sense to me. You see, I can't put strategy and social media together.
Well, it was really what I was doing, right? Because I was actually building the sourcing strategy. I was training all the recruiters globally on how to source talent in new ways and engage them in new ways. And so, and everything had to do with web technologies that I was doing. And so we were just like web strategy guy. And then, I went over, and then I got recruited away to SuccessFactors as a director of recruiting strategy. They saw what I was doing, because I was one part ops technology, one part marketing and creative. I didn't fit in a box, and I just lucked out that I kept going into organizations that were willing to let me make my own box to fit into. And step out of it when I wanted to. So
when you changed jobs, did you approach them, or did they approach you?
Oh, no, I was super happy at VMware. I thought I was going to be there for years. I loved it there. They gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, kind of thing, and that the rest is history. But it was a great career move, because it put me in a director level recruiting leadership role where I eventually got to reimagine all of SAP's global employer brand and do it all again. And now you see Life at SAP has won dozens and dozens of international awards. I helped build that team that was there, and that strategy. I consolidated dozens of social channels into one face for Life at SAP, and got to do I was actually part of the recruiting leadership team at SAP Global, and was part of an effort to completely reimagine SAP's global recruiting.
That's another B2B, isn't it?
Yeah, I was definitely in the B2B world, and it's a challenging problem, funny, right? Because
they tend to be much more conservative, so you seem to have lucked out with your B2Bs. They're all like...
It took fighting. It took begging and making my case and getting every bit of thing we had to do. We had to, like at SAP, we had sort of a shared service model where if you wanted our help, you had to pay. So we had to go to a company, to a hiring organ who needed to hire 50, UX people in Virginia, and say, cool, here's what we can do for you. Here's what it's going to cost. Like, it was an internal internal marketing agency. I pretty much was doing what I do now with Proactive Talent internally at these companies I worked at. And so it was a very easy transition once I was ready to create a consulting firm, because technically I've been doing this for almost a decade already.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not bad for somebody who's a cusp millennial.
I know, right?
So it's interesting. You had the sales and marketing background, really.
Yeah.
The school, you went for marketing and then sales. Yeah, so that's huge.
And I've been an entrepreneur before, right? I put myself through college. I owned a vintage clothing shop in the downtown area of San Marcos at Texas State University. And I always was entrepreneurial. I didn't have a salary job until that first job at VMware. The first 10 years of my career was totally commission only, entrepreneurial. Yeah, just hustling, you know?
Buy some clothes. I need to pay the rent.
Yeah.
But
so you must have been one of the first
commitments.
You must have been one of the first people to do a Twitter careers page. That's like still kind of new to some people or some companies, right?
Yeah, a Twitter and definitely the first to do it in collaboration with corporate marketing. And I actually my counterpart on the corporate social team was Luke Kilpatrick at the time, and now he's one of my best friends. I was the best man in his wedding last year. So like that's how close I built a bridge between marketing and recruiting that did not exist before that. And they loved it.
Now it's still hard to get that in place, right?
Right. Do you have any advice for people? Because I hear that all the time. Like, we can't talk to marketing. We're scared of them. Like, what would you say to that?
Stuff for clients, because it's not like clients will want to see what your
audience is different.
I think one part I was lucky, and one part I just was lucky to have the right skill sets to come in and affect that change. Because what I think happens a lot of time for somebody building social recruiting and employer brand at a company is that they were maybe a social recruiter that loved social and decided to do that, or they were, a recruiting coordinator who was really bored with that job and they want to do something more creative. And that's great. And I train people to do that and make that career path move. But I happen to come in it already speaking the language of marketing and social and tech, and already knowing how to sell something internally. And I had a lot of passion around it too. And I didn't take no for an answer. So at all, like ever. In fact, most of the time,
I begged forgiveness a lot.
Yeah,
you just did it. I just did it. Yeah,
I just did it. I say
that to so many clients. Just, you know what? Do it from your own account. Like, if you're not allowed to have one that is tenable careers or whatever, just
use your recruiter's account, of course.
Use your own account. It's your account. Do what you want. Like, I think it's mad. I mean, besides which fact, I still think that people want to interact with people anyway. So for recruiting on Twitter, for example, I still think it's human to human. But
yeah, my advice, the biggest advice I give anybody I talk to is two things. One, try some pilots. Try measuring it meticulously, and then build a presentation around what your strategy is, how it ties into the actual hiring goals of the organization, and do some research, put together a presentation, and ask for time with the people who own the budget, and present your case like you are a lawyer and saying, look, I have data to show this. I've run a test campaign. Sorry, I didn't ask permission, but I really think it'll work. And show them. And data speaks.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Why is it the people that bring in the people to the company, and the company is made by people, never get the budget?
Because for so long we've been seen as a cost center, when
it was HR, but not now. It's recruitment.
Yeah, but even recruitment is seen as a huge cost center, right? Because a lot of these companies, they wait a long time before they start building out an internal recruiting team, and this is something that we do at Proactive Talent, right? We'll go into startups and actually help them build a recruiting function the right way from the beginning. But a lot of them wait, and they use third-party recruiting agencies, and they only think of recruiting as this big cost that comes every time we hire somebody.
Do you know what I used to do? Because I was the one. So it was a small consultancy, and I built them from 20 up to 70, all on my own. It was great. And I just used to send a spreadsheet over every month. that higher, and I'd go basic salary times 20% equals boom, and just total it up, because that's what they would have been paying an agency for IT recruitment here in London. So
yeah,
and they used to go, oh my god, I paid for myself like 5 times over. So
Animal said he wanted to see my tattoo. I got this when
he's gone.
Oh, okay. Got it when I was 18.
No, tell us anyway.
Well, you share it anyway.
Yeah. No, I got it when I was 18. It means
he got bored.
It means artist.
Yeah. No, I think he thought you were the other guy though from the band. Does the guy in the band have a lot of tattoos?
Yeah, Adam has a lot of tattoos, doesn't he? I think. Yeah.
I believe so.
Right, Will?
What?
You're a musician too, though, aren't you?
I do. I play drums, I play guitar, and I sing. And
your wife as well, right?
If you're any, if you're any good at the Google, if you just Google my name, you'll probably find a lot of videos of me from college playing.
Awesome! I'm gonna check that out.
I was one of the first musicians on YouTube back in 2005 when it first started, and would regularly be like one of the top ranked musicians on there. And then that was when the community was only like 50,000 people.
Yeah, not long.
And it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I got on the radio from doing it, and I've sold many of my videos in major commercials.
Cool. Your career could have gone any direction. Kay,
Kay, you write music too?
Why is Kay writing War and Peace over here?
Yeah. They are cool. I'm gonna Google you.
Not War and Peace, Kay.
Yeah, she's
off
about ROI.
ROI way too fast, and most leaders don't have the patience to invest in time. Yeah, but
I agree. It takes time. This is a machine, and I always tell this to clients. This is a machine that has to be built over a year, 2 years, before it's become ingrained into your recruiting machine.
Yeah, because they will always go behind your back for that fast option otherwise.
Yeah, everyone wants to. There's no fast solution to this. Now, I mean, faster than trying to build it internally yourself would be to hire like a proactive talent to come in 3 to 6 months, build the machine for you. But I've got the resources and people and a process to do that. Most internal organizations haven't done that. And so you can do it faster with some outside help, but doing it regardless for it to really, your recruiting culture and your the culture of your company to change towards this way of hiring, this proactive marketing focused way of hiring, it takes about 2 years depending on how big you are. A startup.
I've got another question for you though.
A lot faster.
So I was talking to agency recruiter, and he's almost at the disbelief. So it's like, oh yeah, no, we're building sourcing teams and in-house recruiting teams now, but that's all going to change. Brexit, Trump, it's all going to change because all of a sudden everyone's going to stop hiring. And I'm just like, I
honestly think it's going to go.
Going to kicked out. I don't know.
I don't think I think what you're going to see is third-party agencies becoming more niche again.
Yeah.
Where they have specialization and they're really useful for that. They're really useful for that because they have these established relationships with, let's say, with executives like CMOs or CPOs. They have those relationships and they're very useful, way faster than an RPO or an internal team can maybe make that hire.
Yeah.
But I think I'm seeing the rise in third-party help through on-demand contract recruiting shops, where like we do an on-demand recruiting where, rather than a company building an oversized internal team that is not flexible and they're using, sometimes hiring is like this, right?
Yeah,
it's up, it's down. You need something a little bit more flexible. With a third-party recruiter, it's like you have to pay these big fees for each hire. That's not scalable, right? And then with an RPO, you have to do like a multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal, and they own the whole process.
And they're not necessarily good at it.
Yeah, and then
sorry for anyone who's just offended.
Or you have to hire like a independent contract recruiter, and you have to, manage all the hours and overtime and all that stuff, right? We think that we've got a great bucket of amazing sourcers and recruiters that work on projects with us that you just have a contract with us and you can turn it on and off. Like you have a seasonal hiring bump and you need some help, cool. Well, we've already been helping you with your strategy. We know your employer brand. We'll come in with our sourcers and actually help you during that time. And then once it slows down, turn us off. You don't, it's like a
best of both worlds, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's going to be continue to grow. And this firm's like that popping up every day.
Who manages the hiring manager in that situation?
Well,
some of you get to go in and.
So some of these shops, what they'll do is they just assign you a contract recruiter within their stable, and you know they manage your hiring manager directly, and they work with the TA folks. But for us, we really believe in more of a project manager model. So one of our lead consultants, you know, a former TA leader themselves, would be sort of the face to the client, and the recruiters work and are managed by that PM in the back end, and the PM's having weekly meetings. And so I think having the PM model creates a lot less room for error, because the recruiter should be focusing on actually getting hires, not spending time with the client and pulling reports and stuff like that. We want the recruiter recruiting. So that's why we have that PM model.
Yeah, I like that idea. I mean,
it makes us a little bit more expensive.
So in that way it gets around, but in the long run, it's still better quality, higher retention.
That's right.
Less churn, blah, 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 blah. You know,
we're not the cheap shop model. It's a little bit more expensive to have that, you know, very experienced PM, but it makes all the world a difference.
You won't take the pain out of recruitment. It is a pain.
Hey,
nobody.
I know we were talking about before we kicked off. We were talking about like how it's changed.
Yeah.
Like now, like social. I think one of the biggest things was like when I started a channel in 2010 or 2011. We could grow it really big because we had a bigger brand, right? And then with every post, everyone saw it. It was free and really effective. And then slowly it got harder and harder. People saw less and less.
Now it's nothing. It's so bad.
And now it's
so what channel are we talking? I mean, to be fair, it's both channels, but
it's all channels.
I must admit, have you noticed Instagram's joined the bandwagon of the crap LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter feed? And it's like I see posts that are 3 days old, and I'm like, why isn't this just in? Yeah. It's really annoying. It's really disconcerting because you're like, no, hang on a minute. I thought that person was in London. Oh my God, they're there. No, they're not. That was 2 days ago. Like,
yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah. I love that reverse, but they're doing the same thing.
I do miss with Facebook. Yeah, with Facebook, you can manually switch to go to a real-time feed still. Yeah, which is great, and because I want that, I want to know what's going on right now. Yeah. But also, the algorithms are getting pretty intelligent at the kind of content I like to see, which is nice. But I have to remind myself to go and I'm not and know that I need to step outside my algorithm. Yeah. Facebook also came out with a new Explore feed, which is a public global feed of, you know, what everyone is talking about, but the algorithm is showing you content that it thinks you would like. That's people who are not your friends. So
the only thing I seem to get though
step out their algorithm.
I just get everyone's they've posted the photo on Instagram and on Facebook, and I see the two. That's it. That's all I see.
That's why I don't bother with Instagram, because I go there and I'm like, I've seen this all on Facebook.
But why do people do that? Please don't feed your Instagram photos to Facebook. Please.
I can see
I will put one on about once a month. My Instagram feed is completely different. Anyway,
I do it. I'll put my favorite of that event, like of wherever I'm taking that photo. I'll put my favorite one on Facebook.
Yeah.
So like my family and my folks who are not on Instagram can see it. But then I'll post some exclusively only Instagram stuff as well. Yeah. That you can only get if you're following on Instagram.
Yeah, I do all the time. Oh, that's cool. Hayes just said I've made a few hires on Instagram. That's really cool.
But it depends on
may or may not have written a really facetious comment on the latest SourceCon post, which I may or may not read out to you.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
Oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, so it's a really cool post by Miriam about Reddit, which I completely can't get my head around. It doesn't matter how long.
No,
it's just I am too Gen X for Reddit. Anyway, and then somebody just wrote like, well, I shouldn't name names, but if someone has time for sourcing on Reddit, Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat, etc., they don't have enough requirements. So because I just wrote back with, why on earth would she want to actually source amongst 700 million users, which is and they've got a user base that's 4 times as active as LinkedIn's monthly user base, when she can just X-ray search it and send a message for free. I mean, why would she want to do that? Oops. Oops, cat had a rant.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't understand that argument.
I know the messages are a little bit hidden. I'm not denying it, but the fact is, you can find people on there, and it's really annoying when someone says,
"Yeah."
Well, let's think about it from a sourcer's workflow, right? They have so much time, only so much time to quickly engage and get them in the process, right? Their idea is to get candidates over to the recruiter or in the hiring process, get them interested. People who are passive, get them interested, right? So you can use these open web sourcing tools, and that's great, is they give you their whole social footprint. But to really make it a compelling, engaging outreach to a candidate, sometimes it takes a little more time to dig into their social and what they're doing on Reddit, on other places, on GitHub, so that when you reach out,
to write, she doesn't have enough requirements because he doesn't know how to do it. It's not time consuming. It's a little bit more time consuming, It's like,
it's time consuming.
It's good because he's going to stay over on LinkedIn and we won't be competing against him. So that's quite cool.
It has value though. Or you can go back to just doing massive, large templated outreaches and see how well that works.
Because it works really, really well. I may or may not be using an example of one of those at ERE for, maybe.
I'm just saying, I would personally rather spend 2 hours crafting 20 really good personalized outreaches and have 90% of those people respond than do one 200-person push that's not personalized that maybe one person out of it will respond to. So
practically exactly the same thing to a recruiter this morning.
And what's the quality of that one person too?
Right.
No, it's going to be low, right? And you just ruined your brand with 200 other people.
Yeah.
Now even if they would have been interested, are never going to be.
I know, they don't measure that.
What kind of person responds to such an impersonal, hey,
someone really desperate for a job.
Comma, enter, apply here, rather than, don't use their name or anything.
Can we talk about a few ways that social recruiting has improved now?
Yes.
For me, one of the most effective things that I've seen is how much we can target our content now. The thing, when I first started doing this, I had to post content that would be relevant for the whole audience, and I couldn't be super precision focused. And now
it's kind of creepy, but cool.
I can just get the right content to the right people at the right time for the right amount of budget, and it's amazing.
And cheap.
And I love it.
Pretty cheap considering compared to job boards.
But it's so creepy though, if you're using Facebook, because of the fact that it reads your WhatsApp messages, so it can be deadly accurate. You kind of go whoa.
Yeah, I mean, look at the whole Russian thing, right? Where they did 3,000 ads targeted at people who are anti-Semitic, during the campaign. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse how well we can target content on social now. In one way, it probably helped Russia totally mess up our election. On the other hand, it helps us get in front of the right targeted audiences for the right reason, right? And so, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And I don't know if you guys noticed yesterday, a little bit of news came out. You can now no longer target your ads by employer or education.
Wait, on Facebook?
Really?
Since when?
Yeah, it was for anti-discrimination laws and to combat what I just talked about, how they were targeting people based on anti-Jewish sentiment and things like that. They had to remove a lot of the targeted areas so that you couldn't do that. And I'm really bummed because being able to target your competitors' employees was a pretty age too.
So they got rid of age. What about sex? As in gender.
No, you can still target by.
As in gender.
I just did it.
I think you can still target.
Yeah, I just did it
still target by
yesterday.
gender.
And I can pick the age.
Yeah, you can still. I think you can still do it by age and gender. But because it doesn't make sense to advertise tampons to men, right? Things like that.
Will you can buy them for your missus.
I have on several occasions, and I'd do it again.
But there is that feeling, and you watch you guys, you kind of hand it over like this, like the cotton wrapped up in plastic in a box is going to give you a disease.
Quickly put it in the bag.
Keep it in the bag, yeah. So,
brown bag. I don't want to be seen. Yeah, hilarious.
I forgot what we were talking about.
I would miss the fun that I got.
Targeting.
If they got rid of the age thing, I would never forget changing my marital status to separated and being offered dating in your 40s. Would I like a faithful husband?
Well, have you noticed that for the actual Facebook jobs that are not so good yet, there's a lot less targeting options.
Yeah.
Like so many less, which is interesting. So I don't stick with those. I just go with
Well, you use video, don't you? Right? Like, you do video jumping up, don't you?
Yeah, I do a lot of video stuff. Why is it so hard to make a case for leaders to understand these methods? Because it's fear. Yeah, they don't control the message. Once you really start like embracing and doing this right, you have to trust that your employees are going to be on message. And the way we help leaders feel better about this when we are building an employer brand for a company is we'll build the strategy, and then we actually build an employer brand playbook.
Yep.
And socialize to the whole employee group. And that way the leaders feel confident that employees know why we're doing this, how they can help, and what's acceptable and not acceptable.
Why is it such a big deal on social media? They trust them to wear the right clothes. They trust them to use the email right. They trust them to use the phone right. They trust them to do their job right. Why can't they trust them on social media? Like,
well, one phone call can't go viral, right? I mean,
you can delete a post on YouTube. If you're sensible and someone backlashes, and you know to delete it straight away.
Screenshots last forever.
That's true.
It doesn't matter.
You can leak documents before.
That's true as well, but social has the ability to be amplified very quick and very fast. And so I understand some of the fear element behind it, but you even see very compliance-driven, regulated industries like finance starting to finally like go, okay, because we've been so tight about this, it's actually hurting our businesses. And so they're turning around. Yeah, they can't hire. Because if you don't have access to LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter, like how are you going to even converse with someone who is, you know,
oh my God, Will, the best one I ever had. The best one I ever had. Voyage Care. So like care workers, and I'm teaching them how to use Facebook, and they obviously need Chrome to get to Facebook to use it well, right? And the IT guy goes, no, they can't have Chrome. And I'm like, why? Why can't they have Chrome? Well, it's not very professional, is it? And I'm going, it's a web browser. Like, I'm just like, it's not, what is not professional about a web browser? I'm like, oh my God, I can't handle this kind of industry. Like, you just.
It makes me think, what is that guy using his incognito tabs for after work? You know, like,
oh, it's really funny. But you just get that ridiculousness of, isn't it sad? But I also think you are at ERE4, right? You're there as well, aren't you?
Yeah. Cool. I will be. Yeah, I'm doing three things. I think.
Ooh, I'm only doing one, but it is opening keynote. So, anyway.
Hell yeah! I love your keynotes.
I hope it's as good. I don't think it's going to be mic drop SourceCon, but hopefully it will still be fun. But I am talking about that transparency thing, and that, whatever your age, you kind of like, well, before I reply to this Will Staney, whoever the fuck he is, you start Googling, right? And you're like Googling away. What can I see? I found his YouTube video. Oh, he's really cool. I'll go talk to him.
You talk about music.
Yeah. It's just some generic, highly corporate. I don't want to work for you. It's here, like the keyboard's here. I
got an email from a sourcer at, and I'll name the company because it's very positive. Riot Games. Yeah. Riot Games was looking for a head of TA for a while. I don't know if they hired or not. Maybe they did. But and this is when I was leading TA at Twilio.
Yeah.
And I had just started. I was a few months in. I was just building things up. There's no way I would ever leave. But I, being a TA leader with my background in the Bay Area, I was getting recruiting messages like all the time, and I would block. But I got one that came in, and I was the best. I think I saved it somewhere. It's the best I've ever received. But the guy reached out and he goes, "I see that you're a gamer." Linked to a tweet I was tweeting about Xbox, like I am a gamer, I love it. And he's like, and you're also a musician. Click, boom, a video of me playing on YouTube. And then he linked to employer brand content at Riot Games that matched their employees doing these things at the office and stuff like. And I was just like, man, you took the time to know me, to really see how your culture fit with what I love. And I was like, you know what, man, like I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Secretly,
Do you still have a screenshot of that?
I will look, but it was.
I need a new one. I love my Pete Radloff one, but I'm needing a new one.
I think it was. On my Twilio email, so I may not have it anymore. But if I screenshot, I've had
how amazing that you still remember the company and you still remember how it made you feel. And it's that emotion.
I wanted to recruit him. I wanted to have him
in my
sourcing on
my team. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
What an amazing connection. When I was getting the guys to hug at SourceCon like that, that's what I'm talking about. That connection that made you felt so special. Here you are, however many years later, talking about it still.
Oh yeah.
From all the other ones.
I mean,
that's like this woman this morning. It's like it doesn't take long. It's just seconds.
It's not hard to do that now. It is.
Google.
It's like a couple more minutes, right?
Yeah.
A couple more minutes, especially if you've done a lot of research to really look at their background and you're pretty sure like this person would rock this job.
Yeah.
I would take a little extra time to just further make it.
Yeah.
Something that I do too, which is also pretty cheap when it's like a really high quality passive client is like, catch them off guard. I've been using a tool that will actually, it's an AI gift tool.
Yeah.
Where I'll reach out to a candidate or a lead and I'll CC, it's called Ava Bot.
Okay.
I will CC Ava. And after I when I send out a message, I say, hey, no pressure. I just want to know that when I was looking into you, like, I just thought what you're doing is really great. Ava here is going to help send you just a small gift of my appreciation for blah, 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 blah. And immediately Ava responds to that person, says, hi, I'm Ava, Will's gift bot. I want to learn, do you have 20 to 30 seconds for me to learn a little bit about you? And they just answer questions like, are you a coffee or tea drinker? Are you this or that? And then they get a $20 to $30 like personalized little gift. It could be tea and crackers or a little bit of chocolates or depending on what they're into. Yeah. But it costs me $20 bucks, and you can do different tiers like 50 or 100 if it's a real, like, I send my customers stuff that like that all the time. But just that little thing that they weren't expecting that makes an impression. Yeah. And it's personalized to them using new technology. Yeah. It's a nice first impression.
Very cool.
I like that. It's an EVA bot.
Yeah.
Okay. What's Kay got down here? Is that the question? Love her. She's like right in England.
Eva bot, yeah. Eva bot.
Sorry, I've been talking to Germans. I'm doing Eva. When I'm speaking to Brits, it's Eva. Who am I talking to? Do you ever consider how you acknowledge efforts without having hires? Huh? Okay, come on, it's Friday.
Brand awareness. Right.
No, I think that's actually a really valid and good question.
Oh, you get the question. I don't get the question.
Yeah. The question is like some of these efforts, especially from an employer brand or social recruiting standpoint, don't always result directly in hires, right? So like, how do you prove that that's worth it or worth doing? And the thing is that you have multiple goals when you're building, and that's why building a strategy before you start doing this stuff is really important, because you have to think, okay, what are our hiring goals, but also what are our goals as far as building awareness of our company as an employer? What are our goals of engaging and having conversations with people? Like, you should have goals around these things too, not just the hire, because your brand and your reputation as an employer makes the ability to hire harder or easier depending on what you do.
And that's it's also remembering social recruiting is only one channel though.
Yeah, it's one. Like when we build
conferences and meetings and in-person stuff and also the other stuff going on.
Yeah, when we build an employer brand strategy for a company, social is one small piece of a multi-channel marketing strategy.
Exactly.
And so there are things that, like Instagram, I think it's awesome that the Artful Journey got a hire from Instagram, but I would never go to an organization and promise that being a result of their efforts. For me, it's a brand channel. It's a look in. And so when you get a hire like that Twitter or Instagram, that's a bonus.
That's Kay Kellison. You've met. She sat next to me at FastCon. Yeah, she's just hiding behind that. So Kay does the art and everything. So yeah, you guys don't know each other. But obviously she's a sourcer as well. So that's her thing more than you're doing the marketing side.
She's asking great questions and has a lot of great content.
That's 'cause she's awesome.
She's amazing.
Well, one thing we haven't talked about when we're looking at like social then and now is just technology, how that's like CRMs. They're like amazing. I can't believe I lived without one. like what other kinds of technology do you think are helpful that we didn't have, that we do now?
Okay. I love talking about CRMs because what we have right now is for a while we've had CRM and recruitment marketing platforms as separate. You have like this recruitment marketing platform that hosts your career site and it puts people into maybe like an email listserv, right? Like your talent community, which is really just a network of their emails to market to them, right? And then we had CRMs, which is what the sourcers use to pipeline candidates for recs in your ATS, right? But these worlds are coming together. If you look, the real value is when these platforms become one and you have your marketing efforts directly tied into your sourcing efforts. If I look at like IBM recently, 6 months ago, hired a new head of sourcing and talent attraction. Like this is one role, right? Like sourcing and talent attraction together. You look at like Matthew Jeffries at SAP, head of sourcing and talent attraction. Gap, they have a talent attraction team, which is also the sourcing research team. Like these things need to be together, because if you have your marketing and your sourcing technology separate, that means that there isn't a combined strategy, because where marketing begins, sourcing ends, sourcing picks up and takes it and makes it an actual like relationship.
Or the other way. This also makes them aware of the marketing that's going on as well. It's a two-way.
Exactly.
Have you checked out Candidate ID, like the talent pipeline?
I've heard a lot about them. I haven't seen a demo.
I'll get a demo. It's interesting.
What I'm really liking right now is Beamery. That to me is like a HubSpot or a Salesforce for TA.
You absolutely then need to look at Candidate ID.
I'd love to see. I've been hearing a lot about it. It's one of the few I haven't looked at.
Well, if you think Beamery is great, this will blow your mind. So,
and we use Clinch, and I love it.
I use Clinch as well.
They're different, aren't they? Because they're much more CRM.
Not a CRM. Clinch is not CRM,
right?
Oh, is it not?
But I love it. It's got some CRM light stuff, but it's not like a true CRM yet. But for companies that don't have a built-out sourcing function yet, like I always say, go to Clinch, because what you really just need at this point is a career site, be able to measure things, be able to build a talent community of rich profiles. Like the thing I really love about Clinch is all you need is name and email, and they fill out their whole social and digital footprint in your database for you. It's amazing. We used it. We've implemented it with clients too. But what I like about Beamery is more for the more sophisticated. They have a sourcing function, and they have an employer brand team maybe, and they're needing to bring those things together. I like Beamery for that.
They have one weenie, and I'm like risking what I'm saying. They have one little problem. There is somebody there who steals content. And it's not.
Right, I don't want to get into that.
No, I'm not.
I'm a no drama
just so
guy in this industry. I don't like drama.
I'm not creating drama. It's factual. It's actual fact. And that's my issue. You got Clinch, which is amazing.
Let's keep the discussion to the technology. Because this is a technological conversation.
I'm not having a bitch fest, but you are raving on about that, and I don't think it's serving them well. And I wish they're aware of it. That for
maybe
their
they
sake,
will be.
I'm not going into a bitch fest. I'm just saying, for their sake, I wish they're aware of it.
Yeah. So when I'm talking about this technology, I typically have a different answer for the different type of company. If you're an enterprise, large company like an IBM, a GE, a Cisco, like then I start going like Smashfly. Right? you need something way more complex that's going to integrate with your probably more legacy ATS. And that's a smash fly, which I also really love. And so, and maybe if you're a super scrappy startup, and you just need like videos in your job description, I'd say on gig. But it really depends on what the company's current infrastructure is, what their current strategy is, and how complex is their process in their organization.
This is kind of a little off topic, but at what point do you think a company should implement a sourcing team? If say they have like 10 recruiters or 20, or what point do you think, okay, now you need sourcers? Or does it depend on a lot of factors maybe?
It depends on rec load and the kind of recs. If you are a company that's hiring, have anything with at least 50 open tech roles, you need a sourcing function because your recruiter, a great tech recruiter, can do 3 to 5 engineering hires a month, like consistently, right? Okay. But if you hit that kind of volume and you want them to be able to produce more per month, you need to start doing a sourcing function, because they're constantly having to battle their time of candidate screening and follow-up and sourcing time. And eventually what happens when they have so many recs, the sourcing time goes down and down and down, and the screening time goes up.
So I had this conversation this morning, and these particular recruiters, because they're on a surge of hiring, have 30 requirements each, and they're all 30 different requirements. They're not like 5 and they've got 6 for each or anything. No, they're literally, and I'm just going, no, you need to get some contract help in to get over the hurdle. Like, I can teach you time-saving stuff, sure, but you'll just be overwhelmed initially, because and also the quality of what they're bringing in would just be, they'd be CV shuffling. They have to go out. You can't possibly cope with 30 roles on your own. It's ridiculous.
Kay also came up with a really good, like, understanding the kind of sourcer too. That's really important, because you have some sourcers that are pure research and candidate identification, and then you have some that are actually really good screeners and qualifiers. And so when it's past the recruiter, it's like go time. They're ready. They're interested. And so she said, do you think all full cycle recruiting is going? No. For some type of roles, especially ones that are not ones you typically need to source for, like if I'm doing retail in-store staff where it's inbound apps and I can hire someone, if it's warehouse jobs, blue collar jobs, things like that, like you need someone who's full life cycle. You need a farmer in those. They'll take the inbound, maybe they can use AI to service just the right ones at first, and then put them through a whole process. And even in those cases, sometimes the recruiter's very much involved with onboarding too, and setting up onboarding classes and things. And that's full life cycle is important. But yeah, so what kind of sourcer you need is also important too. And the skill sets of your current recruiters, right? If you have recruiters that are not hunters, but they're really good farmers, there's a need for some level of farmers and some level of hunters. It's the same thing. And again, the parallels with sales and marketing are so exact. Like same thing, do I need a biz dev function with my AE sales people, right? What are all the channels that feed leads into a sales team, right? You have biz dev people who are out, pounding the phones, or you have a website that brings in leads, or you're advertising. I mean, all these things are how many channels feed good quality leads into your recruiters and your hiring managers. Sourcing is one of those channels that do it in a highly personalized way, but it's very time consuming when done right.
We're out of time.
Yeah, that flew by.
Wow. Oh my God, that went really fast. Because I just go.
And I'm seeing you in like all of however many days. 10.
I know.
2 days?
Yeah, is it 10 now? Yeah. 16. Yeah.
You don't have to go very far, so you can't complain.
I'm doing HR tech first. Anyone going to HR tech?
I'm not going anywhere until next year. I'm stuck.
And that has to do with the cast or not cast. It's not being confirmed. No, but we are doing, I've gone blurry. We are doing SRSC though in Jan, so that'd be cool. Get to catch up with you.
Are you going to that, Will?
I don't know. Maybe it's in San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
I haven't even started looking at next year conference stuff. I'm just trying to get through this month of conferences, and then probably done traveling except for client work for the rest of the year.
Yeah. Oh no, I have the world's biggest holiday coming up, which I'll show off about later. Anyway, with like a couple of minutes to go. So we have James Ellis next week, don't we? Which you're super excited about, Audra, I know.
So excited. He's so smart. He's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll be back to our regular time of 3 o'clock. So thank you to those who tuned in. I know we lost a few because London, it's quite hard to be on at 4.
Yeah. So, Will, where can people find you though? Just on Twitter, they just do your name or?
Yeah, I'm at Will Staney. If you just Google Will Staney or Google Proactive Talent Strategies, you'll find everything about me, about my company. And thank you guys so much for moving this back an hour so I could take my son to school this morning.
Just I really some of the a few of our regulars are there, and I think it's just that hour later on a Friday is quite challenging. That's all I was meaning by that. It was easy for me. I work from home.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. That really helped me not disrupt my morning routine. So
you can't have your kids not getting to school, right?
Well, I could have made my wife do it, but I like to take to school.
Yeah.
I don't mean make her do it, but she could have done it. But,
it's really cool though that you get to do that. I mean, how far the world's changed. It's like it just wouldn't have happened in my day.
That's why I started my own company, right?
Yeah.
I was working as an executive at a startup, working 12-hour days, 3 hours of commuting every day. Like I started my own company, so I could actually see my kids when I want to. I like calling my own shots.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Me too. And I do not have an alarm clock. They wake me up. That's it. I'm so spoiled. I love it. Anyway, on that note, bye everybody. Have an awesome weekend, and we shall see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.